Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Kirby and the... no, it's not Kirby and the Crystal Shards. It's Kirby 64. Colon.
Fake
I
fan.
thought you were going to say
Fake
Kirby
fan.
and the 60.
I can't.
Kirby and the 64.
Kirby and the 64. Yeah. Oh, man. Are there 63 other Kirby games? Yeah, probably by now, yeah.
You know, back then, games always had to have, like, something in their title indicating, like, what tier of game they were. It was like Super Street Fighter, or it was Kirby 64, or it was Prince of Persia
for like
3D.
only for like the launch window. I noticed.
No, not even
Well, I mean,
that.
Kirby
It's
64 was
like,
a 2000 game, so...
this isn't a launch window game. This is pretty late. And
Well, that was, I think, more just a Nintendo 64 thing, where, if it was a franchise that existed, it got the 64 moniker.
I mean, it depends. Like, there's Kirby's Adventure Wii, which is what it's called in Europe.
Okay, listen, you don't want to get me started about how Europe names games. Yoshi's Universal Gravitation, Kirby and the Rainbow Paintbrush, Mario and Luigi.
Universal
Dream
Gravitation
Team Bros
is an
nonsense.
infinitely better name.
all
That's
of
an infinitely
the
better
innuendo
name,
out of
though.
the Ratchet titles.
Yeah. Listen, Europe just cannot name video games. I'm sorry. Nintendo of Europe needs to be shut down. And
You were just insulting an entire subset of your audience.
I'm
now.
not. No, listen. I'm insulting.
that's nothing. But that's nothing new. We do it
game
every
dev
day.
companies in Europe. The European gamer base. I feel bad. They have to live their life with Yoshi's Universal Gravitation. Like, that's what that game is to them, and that's a sad existence that I pity very deeply.
It is admittedly colder, sure, but I also think it just sounds badass. Don't tell people what kind of game
Yoshi's
it is.
Topsy-Turvy is the farthest thing from badass any video game could possibly be.
but you can sort of mitigate that by just calling it like Universal Gravitation.
Until you look at the
I mean, you can also mitigate it by just acknowledging that it's probably one of the worst games Nintendo's ever made, so you're not really missing out on anything.
But that's why they call it that. So.
It's terrible. It's a god-awful game. Yoshi is a bad franchise. Great games within that franchise, but it's a terrible franchise.
I would have to agree Yoshi's an actively bad franchise for Nintendo. It has two legitimately good games in it, and that's it.
They do kind of not know what to do with Yoshi most of the time.
I have a soft spot for Yoshi Touch and Go. We were talking about this in between parts about how Kirby Canvas Curse is not actually that good of a game. We're going in with the hot takes here right now. And I think the thing was that I think I have a similar opinion of Yoshi Touch and Go that many people have of Canvas Curse, which is just like, oh, you're drawing on the screen, that's fun. But
just an expanded tech demo.
Yeah, but I mean the difference is that Yoshi's Touch and Go is just an arcade game, so it's meant to be played for 5 minutes and then turned off, versus Kirby's Canvas Kirby's Canvas. Okay, maybe they were right.
Kirby's Syntec tablet.
If I can't even say the title correctly.
Kirby's Canvas.
It's Power Paintbrush in Europe.
It is kind of weird though.
Such a
Thinking about it now, and we're getting into this conversation, Yoshi is just another Kirby now, isn't he?
They definitely run that fine line, especially with Good Feel making them recent Yoshi.
I think Crafted was it Woolly World and stuff like that.
They both got the stupid Woolly games, yeah.
Well, Woolly,
I'm just talking about the general vibe.
Legitimately, one of the best 2D platformers Nintendo's made in the past.
Woolly World's fantastic. That's the second of the two great Kirby Yoshi games.
Yeah, but Kirby did the yarn thing first.
Well, it was the same company, so what we really need to understand here is that Goodfield just wants to make arts and crafts and got roped into making video games.
Yeah, that's kind of how...
God damn it, guys. I told you, one and done.
That's kind of how Kirby's Epic Yarn happened. They were making the yarn game, and the main character looked like Kirby, and someone was like, hey, that looks like Kirby, and it was Star Fox Adventures all over again.
Damn it, Miyamoto.
Miyamoto, not again. you took what was it the N64 game, was it?
Dinosaur Planet?
Dinosaur Planet? Yeah, you took Dinosaur Planet from us. We're not letting you take this one from us too.
Honestly, thinking about it, Woolly World and Crafted Worlds kind of have a similar gameplay vibe to the Dark Matter Kirby's in that they're fairly slow paced and they're fun, well-made platformers, but they're more about having a mood than...
I mean, I would disagree about Woolly World. Woolly World the art style is almost secondary in Woolly World because it's just another it's a genuinely challenging platformer that feels very Yoshi's Island-ish.
I would say if you're
Crafted
going
World
for
is definitely
yes. If you're just playing it normally, it's pretty relaxed. It's definitely more for Crafted World, only Crafted World is just not very good.
It sounds like Yoshi survived the yarn apocalypse better than Kirby did, because
the first game anyway.
Kirby's Epic Yarn was...
Kirby's Epic Yarn is such a divisive game. People either love it or hate it.
I wanted to like
it. It is top 5
I wanted to
of
like
the Kirby franchise.
I went into it like... I had no attachment to Kirby whatsoever. I still kind of don't, although... Forgotten Land is getting me there.
Have you played it yet?
Yeah, I have. I haven't finished it, but
it is legitimately very good.
Yes, it is. And like I went into Epic Yarn pretty much in the same mindset that I went into Forgotten Land, but it's such a mindlessly easy game. Like not it's easy because it's accessible, but it's like I was actively bored while playing it. And
yeah, Kirby games are always pretty easy, but Epic Yarn is just brain dead a lot of the time.
That one, much like these games, I feel Epic Yarn was too into the vibe and the cozy aesthetic than it was as an actual game. Because I didn't mind Epic Yarn. I've only played it with co-op with my brother Elliot and Sabrina. So I only have that experience to go by, but I didn't hate it.
So I really like when a game like that like finds a gimmick and commits to it and tries to squeeze as much out of it. That's why I like Sunshine as much as I do, even though like mechanically it's very iffy. 100%ing it is a nightmare, but I adore that it like chose the island gimmick and it didn't stray from it and it got a full adventure out of it. Epic Yarn, it committed to the yarn thing and just tried to get as much of it as it could. Like Woolly World again went for the artistic aesthetic, but it didn't really matter. It was just cute, and then it was a platformer with a cool art style.
Like like the art style aesthetic meant as much for the gameplay as like the first 2 Paper Mario games.
Yeah. But like Epic Yarn, you're pulling zippers and going behind fabrics and stuff, and I've still not seen a platformer else like that does that, so it still stands out to me.
You know,
what was that Unravel game?
Unravel. Yeah,
I can sort of see that, but at the same time, like I could not muster any feelings toward Epic Yarn while I was playing it. It just kind of...
That's because you have no soul.
I mean, I love games with cool art styles. I do. And I love games with like that integrate their art styles into their gimmick. It's part of the reason I'm like one of the 2 Paper Mario fans on the planet who's kind of forgiving of Origami King. But, you know, with Epic Yarn, it just felt like there was no escalation.
Yeah, it's not that Kirby's Epic Yarn to me is kind of one of those things where I feel like saying a game is made for kids, I feel is a bad excuse a lot of times, because kids will play whatever you give them. But I do feel like Kirby's Epic Yarn is the kind of game where it's not that it's meant for kids and that kids should have something like brain dead, but more in that kind of like it was meant as a parent plays it with their kid kind of way.
Yeah.
It's not,
I mean, yeah, like even like the cutscenes are like sounds like a father talking to their kid.
This grass feels like pants, or team this grass feels like trousers?
Pants.
Yeah.
The game was delayed for months just because they had to translate
I keep forgetting
trousers and stuff.
how like old school PS1 and 64 games were still allowed to actually use wireframes artistically within their graphical style.
I wish we got more of it nowadays.
We need more like vector graphic. Bring back the Virtual Boy. I said it first, and this is okay. No, we won't bring back the Virtual Boy. But it's a cool art style. I'm having a hard time thinking of a game like there's an indie game out there for every art style. I have not seen many in this art style specifically.
One of the hidden fighters that you could unlock in Street Fighter EX plus Alpha on the PS1, which is like a wireframe.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
And
the PlayStation N64 era of graphics is kind of neglected. Like, people don't seem to think very kindly of early 3D graphics. And, you know,
You say that, but I remember we talked about this a couple commentaries ago, maybe a couple of years ago, where how I figured that in time, we're gonna have a nostalgia boner for that aesthetic. And sure enough, I've seen a number of upcoming Kickstarter or indie projects that have a PS1 or N64 vibe, and people are all over that shit.
Yeah, and we see it a little bit in mainstream, like very little. Like we see, I like high fidelity, low poly. So we got like the Mario costume in Odyssey. There was the Sonic Mania special stages. They show up like Crash 4 had the low poly Crash in there.
Like 8-bit and 16-bit had their time, and they still do. But we are now entering an era where folks are very nostalgic and reminiscent for the early PS1 and 64.
Maybe, but like.
No, you say maybe.
I mean, I've seen
indie.
I've seen.
Say like.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't heard much, if anything, about those full games you mentioned. When I do see like N64 PS1 graphics, it's usually as some extra rather than as the main eventer.
I think that is true. I think we are seeing in general more games with that structure than with that specific art style. So like Hat in Time is 5 years old. Jeez. Okay. Sorry. But we are seeing more 3D platform. Cow the Kangaroo is getting a game in the year 2022.
Yeah.
Hat in Time is a lot more like GameCube era, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think early GameCube era shares a lot of similarities with N64 PS1 because it was kind of the same kind of stuff, just with higher graphics.
Yeah, it was just polished.
Yeah, it wasn't in... Oh, God. This was always my favorite power-up growing up as a kid, was all the Kirby's Dream Land friends. Because I didn't know who any of these characters were. I just kept on doing it until I became Pitch here.
The birds who can go fast.
Yeah, I love this guy. But yeah, I think that we will see it. I don't think that we're going to see a lot of games in the style of like Mega Man 9 and 10 where they're trying to faithfully recreate old style graphics because...
I mean, okay, so what this comes down to is you're not going to see it in the mainstream, but if you follow indie games, it is all over the place in the indie scene.
Everywhere.
Like, just the idea that you're not going to see a game like Mega Man 9 and 10, I could look on the eShop right now and find you 20 games that have tried to faithfully recreate NES.
The problem is that the market is so oversaturated.
Yeah. But I mean, just like PS1 and 64 stuff, like there are a few collectathons on 64 on Switch that have 64 aesthetic. I know there's a horror game that released recently that's supposed to play old school Resident Evil.
I did hear about that.
what? Okay, so I should rephrase. I more meant like, I think we would expect to see stuff more like Shovel Knight as opposed to Mega Man 9 and 10. In that Mega Man 9 and 10 tried to stay to the limitations of 8-bit, whereas Shovel Knight kind of had it as a starting point and then
tried to make it feel like you remember it rather than...
Yeah. That's what Mina the Hollower is doing.
Oh, Mina the Hollower, that game looks cool. It's like Link's Adventure plus Castlevania plus...
What a weird combination, but I can't say it's not working for me.
Look, it's the curling stone. This means that Star Allies is gonna be like Kirby 64, right? Right?
What the hell is that?
Oh, I forgot I was in Star Allies.
Yeah, I know, right?
I forget so much about Star Allies.
Look, I think that people are a little more hard on Star Allies than maybe it deserves.
It's the worst. It's the worst mainline Kirby game.
The worst mainline Kirby.
Okay. At least since like the Super Nintendo Game Boy era, I would agree. If only because everything...
I would rather play Dreamland, because Dreamland's at least a fun, compact 20-minute adventure.
It's more a matter of, for me, is that everything Star Allies does was done in a different Kirby game before it.
And done better.
Yeah, so it's like, what's the point of this?
I would say done better, because they've all done that. It's not like let's not act as if like reusing things for certain games is like new for Kirby. They've always done that. It's just a matter of whether or not you have fun. And I remember I've only played Star Allies twice, and both were for the charity event. And I remember thinking, this is pretty like rudimentary even for Kirby.
So it's like, but that's the thing. It's not bad. It's well made. Like
it's not bad.
Well, it wasn't
like
Kirby
that was full price though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was full price. I think the side content and the updates helped a lot. Well, because here's the thing. Yeah. I think that guest star mode is to this day the best side mode they put in any Kirby game ever. I love guest star mode to pieces. I just think it's a really fun arcade experience to spend an hour like blasting through the game as your favorite power up. I think that's really cool. Is the main adventure like kind of get a little stale? Yeah, I would say it's, if you've played a lot of other, especially if you played a lot of the other Kirby games, the other 3 Kirby games right before it, then yeah, it's not really anything new. But at the same time, you know, I would still say that I think that on its core, the adventure is better structured than something like even like Superstar. I don't think that Superstar for me is that fun to go back and play because it's like 4 quarters of a game duct taped together. And
are you counting Ultra on the DS?
Yeah, I'm counting Ultra on the DS.
Okay.
They're the same game. It's kind of like if I talk about adventure, I usually mean I'm talking about Nightmare and Dreamland and Adventure at the same time because it's mostly just graphics. In terms of like the meaningful stuff added in
quick question.
Ultra, it's just the harder modes, right?
Quick question.
Like,
when was Kirby 64 released in relation to the Phantom Menace?
Like the 2 years after.
This was 2 years.
Okay,
2 years
so
after.
this is definitely a reference.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was definitely
it's super relevant.
Emperor Palpatine reference.
For all that people, you know, lambast the prequels today, at the time people were still pretty hyped.
What are you talking about? People love the prequels today.
Have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth DDD the Wise? Poyo? Yes.
This track is reused from Dreamland 3. It just ended up being.
I love this version from Dream. That was actually something about Star Allies that surprised me, is that there's very few remixes in that game at all. Like, you go into Kirby's house and they play Green Greens. And the optional fight against Meta Knight plays a remix of, like, the ending theme of Meta Knight Return from Superstar. And that's it?
Morpho Knight brings a lot of remixes.
Oh, he does? Okay, I haven't listened to that track. And the
when you play as any of the additional characters, they remix, like, every main theme.
Okay, it's the extra content, whatever. Let's just go nuts.
Morpho Knight in Forgotten Land? Oh, did I say Star Allies? Oh God, I meant Forgotten Land. God, I'm dumb.
Oh,
no, Forgotten Land had tons of. Star Allies had tons of remixes in it.
Okay, yeah.
Forgotten Land barely had any.
Yeah,
that was my point. It's like DDD's theme, the Meta Knight fight, which is like a really cool remix. And like Kirby's house has Green Greens in it, and that's all I can really think of.
I mean, to be fair, DDD's theme in Forgotten Land is like the best rendition of that theme.
So I didn't like the theme when I first heard it in game, but that's because I killed DDD too fast and I didn't get to the part where they actually play his his theme. When you listen to it on its own and you actually appreciate that it's like a 3-minute song, then yeah, it's great.
I mean, to Forgotten Land's credit, it has the best new Kirby song in probably forever.
Dude, when they were singing an anime opening, I was like, I was shocked.
The opening theme?
No, I'm not talking about Standing Tall. I'm talking about was it Northeast?
Oh my God, thank you so much. That's all I kept fucking thinking about when I was playing this game. It was like, why is the main theme Perfect Strangers?
Wait, what?
Standing tall.
Oh man! See, when I heard it, I was thinking, especially since Kirby's a car, I was thinking Rolling Star. That's what I was thinking.
Wait, so hold on. What's Perfect Strangers? I've never heard of it.
It's an old 80s sitcom.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Like, so this is. I think it's only gonna be more of an issue for like the older generation. But it is just Perfect Strangers.
Interesting.
And that's all I kept thinking about. I was like, this is a great song. It's too bad I can't unhear this shit.
Yeah. Oh, but you think that the ice level theme's the best theme in the game?
Yeah.
Because
Northeast Frost Street. Oh my God, that track is so amazing.
I need to re-listen to the soundtrack.
It's not.
I mean, the bridge theme is really good.
Oh wait. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Controversial take here now. I don't like the bridge theme at all. That to me just feels like people slamming on their instruments.
When there's so much disagreement about which tracks are the bestest tracks, that is a sure sign that the soundtrack is aces.
I was pretty mellow on the soundtrack overall.
So I remember when I was DMing you, I think I was originally mellow on the soundtrack, and then I just went back and listened to it solo. I can't really get a vibe from a soundtrack when I'm playing a game for the first time unless it's like super powerful. So I listened to it all after the fact. I'm like, oh no, I take it back. It's like there's a lot of really good stuff here.
That's why I ended up liking Northeast Frost Street, because it was powerful, like on first listen. You know, I think it helps that
easier.
It was like in a pretty open and slow part of the stage.
It's easier, I feel, to get a feeling for a soundtrack during your first playthrough of a game when the game is more of a narrative experience, because at that point the music and the story are working together and it kind of gets your brain juices flowing.
I would agree with that. One of the most memorable experiences I have with a song in a video game is in Shin Megami Tensei 4. So for those who don't know the story to that game, every Shin Megami Tensei game takes place in Tokyo, but Shin Megami Tensei 4, you start in this like feudal Japan kind of setting. So you're like, okay, what's going on? When it's revealed that the city was on top of Tokyo the entire time, and then you hear the characters talking about like seeing the stars from below them, and it starts playing the map theme. Like that was just a really cool moment. And so I think Lewis is right in that helped stick that game's map theme in my head as like one of my favorite songs from the game. Shin Megami Tensei 4 is also very good, and I would recommend getting it before it's like impossible to get anymore. It might be impossible to download by the time this goes up. I don't remember when the eShop stops.
Next March 2023.
When does it stop adding money though?
That's late this year.
They disabled adding money through the system itself, but you can still do that part through the website.
Okay.
Or through your Switch.
Yeah. Shin Megami Tensei 5 is also good. It's just the story's bad, which is unusual for an SMT game. So, man, I like how there's one character with a character arc in Shin Megami Tensei 5, and then the end of it doesn't make any sense at all. But
5's endgame is weird.
Yeah, I should replay. I should do the New Game Plus and see if that improves. Oh man, I can't. You can just throw him too, and he goes like whoosh. Oh, and they make you float. Oh man, if I had the free time, I would just hold every enemy in the game above my head, because I didn't know you could do this until I saw it like on a Twitter GIF or something, like 6 months ago.
Damn. It's only been like 22 years.
It's incredible how flexible and adaptable Kirby is, considering the difficulty curve of his games.
So Kirby 64 isn't that hard, all things considered, unless if you're like me and you just run into everything over and over again.
It's weird because
you're trying to get all the crystal shards is where it gets a little more tricky.
Well, it's weird because it's a really easy game until you get to Miracle Matter, and the Miracle Matter is like suddenly you're just dying all the time.
Yeah, Miracle Matter, I forget how many deaths it took me in this playthrough, but normally I die like at least 10 times. Part of that is that it's basically impossible to do with a power, so you have to do it with just normal Kirby.
Just the power of suck.
Yeah. And this is one thing that I do think that the newer games have Kirby feel a little more fluid. He does feel a little bit more stiff in this one, just in general, which usually doesn't matter too much because the game isn't built around him needing to be super fast. It's just like literally just Miracle Matter where that ends up being a problem. But yeah, this was another thing I know a lot of people brought up when talking about Forgotten Land. A lot of people really missed every move in Forgotten Land having like 6 different things you could do. And I didn't mind the more limited movesets, and I never really have, because I've made this point a number of times talking to friends, but I don't want to feel like I'm reading a Tekken move list when I'm playing Kirby. Like, that's just me.
I'm the opposite. I actually prefer having the powers have a ton of utility and different things to do. It makes it fun to press buttons and see what you can do.
I think the powers in Forgotten Land have enough flexibility, like.
Yeah.
When you equip them, there are several different moves you can do with each one, and more get added on as you upgrade them to different forms. But
yeah,
they all have enough utility to where I didn't feel like I needed the ability to do anything super crazy. Especially since there's only like 9 abilities in the game.
I think
like
12. Well, if we're not really
it's comparatively smaller to
Crash, I guess then yeah.
Let me think.
There's only like 9 or maybe 10.
It's like it's smaller than standard Kirby affair.
Yeah, but there's enough utility plus fun of it being all in 3 dimensions.
Yeah, like to its credit, like I wasn't theming for like multiple like move sets with one power up. So I think Forgotten Land was designed well enough. In that
I would have liked more moves, like more copies in general. Like I feel like there was a few
maybe
more
one
nice.
more feature. Because I don't think every shoulder button needed to be a guard.
Yeah, no. They could have. But this power up.
That's a classic Nintendo pull. Just
I hope you played Dreamland 3.
Making multiple buttons the same thing instead of thinking of new functions for the extra buttons.
How many times did it take? There we go. Oh my god.
Speedrunners must hate this part. I swear. The RNG ruined my run, man. It took me 17 tries to get Rick for this one shard.
Yeah, speedrunners probably like get it down to a science where they can span the transformation as fast as humanly
So if I play this
possible.
game on a Tuesday,
you have Kirby like jitter around. It RNG manipulates the dust so that you get Rick on your first try.
You know what? I would
like,
believe it.
They probably have some weird transformation cancel maneuver that they can do to reset the animation quickly or something.
That's actually
speedrunners.
I was watching a tool-assisted speedrun of Aria of Sorrow. Aria of Sorrow is the Game Boy one.
Game Boy Advance, yeah.
And it wasn't like commentated with voice, but the task runner did have like subtitles explaining what was going on. And at one point he goes, "I'm not just dicking around by having Soma like jitter here. The dust actually does manipulate RNG so that I can get this soul on the first try against the boss," which just made me laugh a lot, because it's like the way it was worded, it was like, yes, I am dicking around, but it does have a purpose.
Yeah, that's, I believe it too, because RNG sometimes pulls from weird variables.
Yeah, it's so, oh man.